Hi, it's Kevin May in the PhocusWire studio here. Joined by Luuc, Elzinga, the CEO of Tiqets. Hi, Luuc, and also welcome back. You've been on these before with us. Alex Kremer, the co-founder at Arival. So thanks, fellas, for joining us. Okay, so it's now roughly 18 months since the Boken deal, since the Fair Harbour deal, and certainly both of those major OTAs said at the time that their kind of vision was to help further connect this disparate, fragmented wild west of a tour as an activities industry. So 18 months on, we'll start with you, Luuc. How do you sense that mission of theirs is going, and just generally in the marketplace, how far are we moving along on that kind of connectivity kind of trend?
Well, I think we're moving. We're in a little bit different spot with the bigger museums and attractions around the globe. But you also see there more sense of urgency going online, seeing the online opportunities, and regarding the Fair Harbour and Boken, I think they are growing heavily. Both, I think the smaller operators are going online, and they're tapping into an opportunity which is still untapped.
Okay, and Alex?
Yeah, I see it a bit differently. I think, for example, for Boken, a lot of suppliers have gone to Boken not necessarily because they want to use it as a reservation system, but because they want to establish the connectivity to the Viator and TripAdvisor experiences brand.
Okay.
So there's been a lot of growth there, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it's just using that as a reservation system.
Okay, but in that vein, I mean, it is about connectivity. I mean, at the Arival event, you have hundreds of tour operators there, whether they're axe throwers or whether they're kayakers or whatever. What is still, do you sense, the common problem that they have in the wider digital realm of what they're trying to do? Is it managing their channels? Is it just simply getting connected to something, or is it ticketing, or what?
I think there's a variety of factors. I mean, most small businesses, they're trying to basically live by sales, right? So selling is really their ultimate goal. When we see suppliers coming to our conference, that's really what they ask us about the most, is how do I get more sales? And so I think connectivity to them is an ancillary effect, if that makes sense. It is something that they require to sell more, but really their goal is to sell more. And so as connectivity broadens in the industry, I think what we need to pay attention to is the number of distributors that are out there and can effectively deliver sales to these operators.
Okay, and Luuc, I mean, your customers or the partners that you work with, they're already connected. This is the Louvre Museum, this is the Eiffel Tower, this is the Eye in London, or the Statue of Liberty. They don't have the connectivity problem. They have other technical problems, perhaps?
Well, you would be surprised.
Okay.
You would be surprised. So even last year, we helped the Louvre with going fully digital. And before that, it was only paper tickets. And I think where you see the opportunity, and that's also why the smaller ones want to have this connectivity, is the demand is moving much faster to last minute in destination. Mm-hmm. And if you want to distribute, if you want to sell in destination on a digital way, you need to have connectivity. And I think that's a real interesting demand, why you see more smaller operators going online and getting connectivity, but also for the bigger operators to be connected, to be distributed, to be marketed, but also where they can manage channels, manage prices, manage availability, and monetize on the demand they get.
But there's a distinction there, right? I mean, in terms of the big attractions, right, they have very different problems. They have too many sales in a lot of the European attractions that you work with, for example. They have an over-demand problem, and they have to manage that. So I wouldn't say that connectivity is really helping them, with that problem. It's in fact making it worse in many ways. So then you have to get down to, okay, what's happening at the venue level to manage all the different, demand issues that they have.
Absolutely.
So this wasn't going to be something that I asked, but you've kind of raised an interesting point that we touched on. We did a destination kind of marketing and management theme month back in September. And do you sense from the operators that you both deal with, whether they're attractions or sites or whatever, that they are starting to get a sense of their responsibility to be better kind of crowd management services as well?
Oh yeah, I think what all these venues want to do is give a great experience. And when
At the expense of making more money?
well, I think all these venues, especially the museums, but also the attractions, they want to have great reviews. And yes, there are a lot of people coming in, but if they can improve the customer experience, but at the same time get the same amount of people, but spread the crowds across the day, that's a win-win situation for them. And what you see more is that they also see that they have an opportunity and also a pledge to help the whole community into a city, to get people spread into the cities, to avoid mass tourism and to create a healthy tourism environment.
Okay, right. Let's move on a little bit. Let's talk about investment and money and funding and stuff like that. So we've had some more mega rounds. There was nearly $500 million, into Get Your Guide in April, in May, and about a month before there was a heap went into Luuc as well, by the same investor as we know and has been referenced here. Give us, and you've just raised as well. So congratulations from Airbnb, of course, which was perhaps out of left field for us in the media, but it was an interesting one. We'll start with you, Alex. There is this perception that perhaps constantly raising money is perhaps not the approach to take, and it's something that Luuc and I were referencing earlier. Is this, at some point you do have to become a sustainable business, right?
Absolutely. I mean, so I think Get Your Guide and Luuc are very specific kind of cases in our industry right now, in that they're spending an enormous amount of money on customer acquisition. And so to your point, eventually you're going to have to get to a point where you can profitably acquire a customer. But I think at the stage that both of those businesses are at, they've got investors that are willing to pump money in right now to acquire those companies, perhaps at a loss, to build the brand. And I think there's a very important distinction in this market that we really haven't been talking about a lot, which is there needs to be a brand in this space, or multiple brands, that capture the emotion of selling these products a little bit better than what's happening today. I think in the early days of tours and activities, we saw a lot of, well, we're going to sell this product just like hotels, right? Here's an image, here's some descriptions, and here's a price, and let's go. Well, I think the businesses that are now raising these really large amounts of money are using that to experiment with ways to really acquire customers in perhaps a little bit different way. Because ultimately, if you're just going to dump a bunch of money into Google AdWords, we've seen in the halls here and other sectors that does not have a long-term play.
Yeah, your point of view, Luuc?
Well, I fully agree. I think this money is in there because the opportunity is huge. For more the trends in the market, huge market, offline to online, but also there's still a lot to do in the plumbing to make that connectivity work, etc. So to create that marketplace at scale, and scale requires investments. But of course, the unit economics needs to be in place to make money and to generate profit. And I think that is something which in this industry is constantly working on decreasing cost of acquisition, but also increasing the frequency, and making sure you get more people more frequently into museums and attractions is really helping the venues and us to become more profitable.
Right. So, interesting conversation earlier with Chris Hemmerton from Thayer Ventures, and he brought up something that I didn't really know exists, and that's kind of activities themselves acting as resellers of other activities. He pointed to the example of the Space Needle in Seattle, and that, as an attraction in its own right, sells tickets to other attractions within the city.
Yeah.
So how widespread is that, or is that going to become, do you think, Alex?
I think in the US markets, I think in the major metro markets, you see a lot of that happening, especially big cities like New York, San Francisco, where these kind of really big operators, it frequently happens with the bus tour guys and attractions, museums, sightseeing decks. They do a lot of that. And it's been a part of the market that, frankly, has not been, I think, really thoroughly researched and really not been addressable so far in terms of the technology players in the space.
Okay.
Right? Most of them have been kind of worrying about the online distribution of the product, but the in-destination product, cross-selling, all that kind of stuff, I think there's a huge opportunity there.
So in your world, because you deal with so many of those
Yep.
big attractions, well, how do you feel about that? Because ideally you would want to be selling that ticket yourself rather than one of your own suppliers selling a ticket for something else in a city.
No, we don't. So we're helping our venues even to do this by making bundles for them that they can sell on their own site with
so
multiple
it's
suppliers.
self-merchandising almost.
Exactly. So it's leveraging our technology to make sure they can increase the yield that they make from that customer that only comes once or two times at their venue. So I think that's one reason. The second reason is they really want to promote their own ecosystem. So they want to help the smaller venues around to don't let people stand in the street or go to a bar, but really enjoy the great treasures that are there in the city. So I really think it's going to be really big, as it is an in-destination play.
Okay, so last of all, guys, so I often don't get a straight answer out of this one when I've asked people in your space about it, and it's about standards, whether it's standards of connectivity or channel management and all those kind of things. The GDS of the tours and activities. Some people say that they're working towards it, but they, on their own, are working towards it. So, Alex, you're the co-founder of an organisation and an event provider that looks at all these kind of things. I'm not saying it should be Arival's job to implement standards, but whose job should it be, or should it be someone to take the lead, like Expedia or something like that?
So it's good that you mentioned it. So at Arival last year, we actually launched an effort called the Arival Connectivity Forum. And we invited some of the top tech providers from the space to get into a room and say, look, there is a need for standards in our space. Mm-hmm. And the approach that we took was, we said we are going to facilitate the conversation as an organization, but we are not, at Arival, for example, going to be a standards organization, right? That's not our job. That's not what we want to do. And so we provided a room and we said, hey, everyone, get in a room. Here's the problems that operators face, that technology providers face, that distribution companies face. There's a lot to solve here. Let's get to work. And so several efforts have spawned out of that. They're currently underway in the industry to standardize some of the kind of top problems in terms of distribution, APIs, things like that. Mm-hmm. So that is currently underway, but I would say it's definitely early days. I've been personally waiting for some of the big distribution companies to really step up more than they have.
Okay.
But it's early days, but it's moving along.
Do you agree with Alex that some of those big players should be stepping up or not?
Yes, I think it's also a difficult topic because it's complex and you can make it really complex. So I think we're part of the Expedia initiatives and we've said with one operator and as us as a distribution partner, okay, let's just do it and let's see what the issues are, but let's make already version 1. And I think that's also the thing what needs to happen, right? Do it, learn from it and iterate with each other in an open setting where we can really improve and speed up the process of connectivity.
But that's a different approach to that one, is it? Because you're working with one organisation. This is you getting them all in a room. So
well,
your approach is...
It is almost the same. It's only that Expedia took the initiative to also get everybody in a room and make sure that there is one single standard.
Yeah.
So that connectivity gets easier, gets faster, and you can really add value, not on the base that you have connectivity.
Yeah.
And so it's not Expedia's API, it's just an open API where everybody can connect much faster and much more efficient.
So as you say, early days, and we'll have to have the same conversation in multiple years, I would imagine. Okay, Luuc, Elzinga, Alex Kremer, thank you very much.
Thank you.